If you are looking to climb the ranks and crush in your games, Mei is the top hero to master. In our Game Leap guides, you will learn the best ways to use Mei, as well as other tips and tricks. To fully master Mei, make sure to sign up at GameLeap.com at the end of the video. Let's dive in. So one of the things about Mei is anybody can play her. I think she's an extremely easy character to play. I mean, she has a move that allows her to go invulnerable and heal herself, and that just makes her very independent. And at the same time, if you're not able to land your right click, headshots or just body shots with the icicle, you can just left click people. It's very easy and it will still secure you kills on your team. It's more of a disabler kind of role, and you're playing it more like Sombra in that instance, where you're not focusing on DPS, but you're rather focusing on just trying to make sure the enemy team gets slowed down as much as possible, and you really need to make sure that your team is going to be able to pick up the slack when it comes to those things. So one of the very common things you want to do with Mei is you want to kind of hide in an area where you can let the enemy team just kind of come in, and then you can use your ice wall on the choke point and allow them to just get stuck. So one of the things that you want to try and do with Mei is you want to isolate enemies. As soon as you're in a 1v1 situation and you're up close and personal and left click range with Mei, then you've already won that fight. I mean, there's very few enemies that can get away with dealing with that situation, as long as you're able to cut the enemy's path off with your ice wall and separate the Reinhardt. And this is exactly what you want to do. So the Reinhardt will try to charge there, but it's very easy. I mean, he's not going to do anything. So obviously you want to play it very patiently. You could alternatively sit here at choke, and you could sit here and you can shoot your little ice guns at people and get ult charge, and that is a little bit of value, but I think you get the most value out of just being patient and wait for the Reinhardt. If you know the enemy team has a Reinhardt or a Zarya or even a Roadhog, you wait for them to move in. As soon as they move in, you just bam, you cut them off. They have no escape, they can't get out, they have no mobility moves. Their only option is to sit there helplessly and try to panically get a kill before they go down, or maybe hold up, right click shield, and maybe you're not going to freeze them. But as soon as you get the Reinhardt separated in this instance, you play it patiently. You go in there and you just get right into his face and you left click. Now, this is what every Reinhardt is going to do. I mean, any Reinhardt obviously has no way out at that situation. He either dies to the bullets or he gets frozen. There's really no option for him. And you need to get into his face in order to, freeze him. So what you can do is when the Reinhardt goes for this charge, you will have to prepare yourself for this mentally, because the Reinhardt is going to do this. Like 99% of the time, the Reinhardt is going to try and charge you, kind of a last desperation panic kind of mode thing. And then you just use your ice block and he stops immediately, then you break out of it, and then you're able to finish the freeze or anything else, right clicks, whatever you need to do in order to get that secured kill. And that's basic, very basic information when it comes to Mei, but that's something you want to do every single time that there is a Reinhardt, Zarya, or Roadhog, because you completely shut them down with left clicks and there is nothing that they can do. The one thing that can happen is Roadhog can hook you and Reinhardt can charge you. But you have your ice block, and as long as you have your ice block, you're able to use that in a way that is going to make it so it's just not going to have the same effectiveness. So using your ult, obviously, you want to use it when the enemy is at a choke point. For example, what we'd had right here, the enemy team was trying to push through. I tried to separate as many people as I could. I don't want to try and separate, too many people, but I do want to try and separate the immobile characters who have no way to escape. So in this instance, I was going for the Reinhardt and the Mei, and I got the Mei, which is still pretty good value because she isn't able to get away. She's just going to sit there and maybe use her ice block, and then you're able to get a follow-up kill, and the Reinhardt is pretty much stuck up there. And so I basically hold down left click on the Mei with the ice block. So in a Mei 1v1 situation, whoever is able to hold down the left click first is basically going to win that fight, because they will be frozen first. In that instance, it will force the enemy Mei to pop ice block early, and as soon as that happens, you can get a really nice ultimate off, and as you can see right here, they are all completely grouped up at the choke point. And that's what you want to try to do with your ultimate. You want to try and get as many people as possible who are just clustered up together so you can freeze them all. And in other situations, you would want to use your ult to try and maybe stall a point, maybe an overtime situation gets people off the point. But in a situation like this where there's still like a minute and 30 like left, you just want to try and get the value play and get the kills. And as you can see, I'm already 20% to my next ult, even though I already used it, so it's not a big issue. So even if you're not able to get the Reinhardt with that, you can basically waste their time, and if the Reinhardt doesn't, because the Reinhardt's trapped there, there's only a few things that the Reinhardt can do, because as soon as you do this, he needs to start backing up, and if he stays up on the high ground like that, he's just gonna get dominated. Like, I'm actually really surprised he didn't try to go like back up and try to get on the ground. Maybe he just wasn't aware of what was happening in his surroundings. But yeah, you can basically force them to waste time with the wall. It's a very good tactic on defense, especially because on defense, it is your job to stay alive, something that Mei is very good at because of her ice block ability, and also that she has that extra 50 health compared to other DPS heroes. And then, of course, you have her wall, which can trap people away, separate people away, and you can also, of course, just use it to stall for time. So you can use your Ice Wall, obviously, on very immobile characters like Reinhardt and get potential picks, like you can see right here. And you can even use your Ice Block here to, like, block shatters, which is really funny to do. But in the end, you're gonna have a lot of value on defense, much more than offense. I would say Mei is definitely designed for defense, and I think she has potential to be powerful on offense, but you really need to play a lot differently than you would normally. Defense Mei is a lot stronger, but there are some weaknesses. I would say Pharah is a very strong counter to Mei. You have to be able to land your right clicks with Mei in order to get a lot of value. So anybody is able to play Mei. I think it's super easy. It just takes good positioning and game knowledge and game awareness to be able to utilize her left click, her ice walls and ice block and ultimate to the best of her ability. It's not difficult to do, it's very easy to pull off, and I think with a lot of practice, you can be a very solid Mei, and you could probably reach Diamond or Masters very easily by doing that. One of the common things you can do with Attack Mei is use your ice wall to cut off the line of sight and go into an area. It's very easy, or rather, it's very difficult to push into a 2 CP map. Take Hanamura, for instance. It's so difficult to take that first point unless you're all really good at getting a pick, and I don't know, your team's amazing. So it's very difficult to push in through a choke point that's so small like this. And I think Mei, you can use your ice wall in a variety of ways to make it so as soon as you get an ice wall like this, then the enemy isn't able to hit you unless there's someone really high up there, and that's probably not going to happen. I mean, maybe like a Widowmaker's on that high ground and she's able to get a shot off on you. Very unlikely. I think a Junkrat or Pharah are probably the only things that really counter the ice wall strategy when you do this, because Junkrat can shoot bombs over the wall and doesn't care, and Pharah does the same thing. So anyways, by using your ice wall in this way, you're able to go through this tunnel. Now normally, this would be an even worse place to be, because now the enemy team knows where you are, and they can just start pushing you from both angles and be able to immediately apply this damage and pressure to you. However, on a solo queue ladder experience, the enemy team will be like, wait, they just did what? They're all in there? They'll panic. They don't know what to do in that situation. A lot of people have probably never even had this happen to them, and just being able to do this strategy will infinitely increase your success rate, your win percentage on 2CP maps like this. Being able to take this strategy and use it with your whole team, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the enemy team. They're not going to know how to respond. They're not going to know what to do. Unless the enemy team is running like a Junkrat who can spam nades in there or something, then, you know, they're going to be like, oh man, where do I go? Do I go in there with them? So, and that's where you get them. If the enemy team tries to go in there with you and try to contest you, then they're in your territory. You'll be able to left click and freeze them. If they're able to maybe do a lot of damage to you, you have your safety net, which is your ice block. And then if the fight goes on for even longer and they're really stuck in there, you can ice wall the door off. And as soon as you ice wall that door off, your entire team is going to kill that person easily. So that's a very common strategy to do with Mei, and I really want to get the word out there because I think that's something that a lot of people don't really take advantage of, and you could just easily get kills here, and the enemy team is going to be separated. For example, one of the other big benefits to doing this is the Reinhardt is now not protecting his team. His Reinhardt is in this tunnel. His Zarya is in this tunnel. So what's happening right now? Both tank players on the enemy team are trapped in this room. And what does that mean for my team? They're able to do damage freely. There is no Reinhardt or Zarya applying any pressure to the front line, so my Ashe is able to pop off. I mean, nothing's protecting the enemy team, so she's able to just sit there and left click, zoom in shots on them, no problem. And another big reason why this is good is not only because the tank players are the ones who are probably going to suffer the most from this on the enemy team if they get caught in here, but also if you're caught in here as a tank, what are you not getting? You're not getting any heals. There's no way your healers are going to go in here in this situation. So it's just the easiest kill. You don't even have to worry about doing too much damage to them. As long as you just make sure that their health gets really low, you can just trap them, CC them, disable them, and make them have a miserable time, and just their effectiveness is gone. My team is able to get a ton of damage in because both of their tanks are just literally sitting there doing nothing and getting no value in that room. Like in this play of the game, I believe this is what happens. My Ashe, yeah, because we wall off the Reinhardt and Zarya in this instance, and now there's 0 frontline. And while this is happening, what's McCree looking at? He's looking at this choke point. He's like, oh man, I don't know what to do. How do I save these people? And while this is happening, easy left clicks. That's all it takes. Just left clicking everybody. All of them are rushing. They don't know where to go. There's no tank players anywhere on the control point, and a tank player needs to be contesting the point. That's their job. And without the tank players on the scene, my team is able to just Zerg rush them, you know? So that's one of the big powers and strengths of Mei, is she's able to disable people, not just with the freezes, but the ice wall completely disables a person and isolates them from the rest of the team. So that was a pretty solid way to play Mei on defense, and I think that's very easy to pull off. Anybody can play Mei on defense, and you can pretty much full hold almost every single time, as long as the enemy team doesn't, you know, swap. I mean, what did the enemy team run? They didn't really do anything to try and counter the Mei. They didn't try to swap to Winston or Diva, both of which would have been better tank picks because they would have had a lot more mobility. Also, something I would like to talk about is Hammond. You counter Hammond very easily with Mei. You just have to be kind of smart about it. As long as you're able to make sure the Hammond slams and you're just ready for it, you can just sit there, hold left click, wall him off, hold left click, do it again, right click, hold left click, and unless he gets saved from like a Lucio in that instance, then you're just going to be sitting there and doing so much damage to this guy, and he's not going to be able to do anything. Look at him. He just got like glitched there. I don't even know what happened to him. So Mei, I would like to talk a little bit about the matchups with Mei. On the Smurf level, I think you can concentrate on left clicking more than right clicking. If you're at the lower level, just hold down left click is probably going to get you a lot of value out of Mei. The right clicks are going to have more value as you get the higher ranks, but that's not going to happen probably for a while. I think at the lower level, it's much easier to get value out of your left click than it is your right click, because enemy teams, or rather your team at the lower level, will have a lot of focus fire issues. I think a lot of people suffer. They don't know how to shoot all at the same target at the same time. That sometimes can be a communication issue. It could also be something else. And I think a lot of the time, if you freeze a target, your entire team is going to immediately try to shoot that target. It's somebody just standing completely still, frozen, unable to do anything. So of course they're going to try to shoot at it, right? So that's something that playing Mei is really good at. If you freeze a target, your team is going to focus fire them. And that's something that I think playing Mei at the lower ranks is going to get a lot of value by doing that. So I definitely want to tell you to prioritize freezing people as Mei and holding down left click when you're at the lower rank. When you get to the higher rank, you will have to do the opposite. You will have to prioritize the right clicks. The right clicks are the damage. You need a lot of damage in order to really get the most value at the higher ranks. I'm talking masters to above. That's where you really need to start seeing the icicle, and you really need to start to become one with ice. I don't know how else to describe it, but you're not going to be able to get away with doing these things at the higher ranks. And mostly that's because of the meta. Obviously, there is the GOATS meta, and it's very difficult to try and do a lot of damage with Mei. If you're sitting down and holding left click on tanks and there's a lack of focus fire, then it's not going to be very good value. But your left click is not going to get as good value on characters like Pharah. As soon as you get to the higher rank, you will notice that the enemy team will be smart. If you're running a Mei at Masters and above, the enemy team will be like, alright, this Mei's an issue, I'm going to swap. Obviously, we can go to Pharah. She's not going to touch me with the icicles unless you're able to really play Mei effectively to the point where the icicle is going to get the most value. And that's what you should be looking to do. So when that enemy character makes that swap with the higher rank, because you're not going to sit there and left click a Pharah, you have to be able to icicle her. So you need to be able to do that if you're really looking to improve with her. And that's a mechanical thing that you need to try and practice and get the hang of. One of the things that I like to do as a player is I like to focus on either hit scan or focus entirely on projectile, because really it makes it so much easier for your brain to wrap around, I need to click this person's body, as opposed to I need to click where this person's body is going to be. They're two very different styles of shooting, and a lot of characters are projectile and a lot of characters are hit scan, and you can really try and figure out what you want to play and what you're best at. Personally, I would say I'm more of a projectile player myself. I like being able to use projectiles. Playing hit scan is something that I don't do that often, although it is fun. I do think that it's much easier for me and my brain to wrap around the projectile side of things. So when trying to focus on a group of heroes, a hero pool rather, I would focus on heroes that are either all projectile or all hit scan. And I think some characters are the exception, right? Like Reinhardt or something like that. Like, obviously, Reinhardt, I wouldn't classify him as projectile or hit scan. But anyways, that's something that you should take away from this, is if you're looking to play Mei, then I would call yourself or define yourself as more of a projectile DPS player. And from there, it would make it much easier for you as a player to focus entirely on projectile DPS. So, anyways, guys, that's all I have for today. That's all I have on Mei, and I say, good day. Mei is one of the best solo carry heroes you will need to master in order to climb ranked. This top 500 player guide is just one of many that will teach you how to master Mei. At GameLeap.com, you can find all kinds of up-to-date guides and courses for all the heroes created by the highest ranked players and coaches. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, make sure to check out GameLeap.com.